We're three millennial Latina first-time moms and entrepreneurs who connected at the start of our radio careers. From partying at nightclubs to figuring out Nightfeeds, we've been friends for 14 years.
We're not experts, just honest moms navigating motherhood together, from pregnancy and the newborn stage to toddlerhood, one phase at a time.
We're excited to share what we've learned, what we wish we'd known, and everything in between.
Welcome to Nightclubs to Nightfeeds. Episode 10.
Yay!
We're in the double digits.
Why you guys always do that?
No, that is so
Chris
crazy.
and Chris. So cute.
Yeah, the
Chris and
Chris's. Episode 10, identity and postpartum friendships.
Oh my
and
gosh.
How,
So much to
so much
say.
to cover here.
Wow.
how things change, what has remained the same. Let's get into
Yeah.
it. First, identity, like that postpartum identity.
Oh my gosh.
What has changed? What has stayed the same?
I feel like a lot of it for me was like the mom that I thought I would be. The like mom, I think a lot of moms, you know, when you're watching your other friend's parent, if you're the last one in certain friend groups to like have a kid, if you have older cousins, whatever, like you just take things from each relationship, I think. And I feel like for me, I didn't really know. Obviously, I mapped out and tried to plan how I would be as a mom, but I think like it's such a huge part of our identity once the baby actually comes out and once you're like past the newborn to-do list fog of like the craziness of that.
Yep.
And like so not even knowing what day it is, you know, like once you start to learn like what day it is and all this stuff, you're like, okay, I'm a mom.
Yeah.
I'm
Like,
a
this
real
is
mom.
real.
This is real. This baby's really here. And like, what am I doing? Like, how am I moving
in it.
forward as a mom?
Yeah.
And I think for me, like, I think, you know, I grew up with obviously my mother. Like I thought there were certain things that I knew I was going to take from her. Like I know that like I have to work on sometimes when I get really frustrated, like sometimes I feel it's just because I'm overstimulated and I need to like step away. But before actually having a child, I never really had to do that. And I feel like now I'm like, oh, that's like such a huge part of like who I am as a mother is like taking the time to like sit there and really
You need
like,
a moment.
take
Sometimes you need a
breath
moment.
and like think and all these things that like I never had to do in my previous life. Like I would just get frustrated and I would sometimes
that's just what it was?
like, yeah, that's just what it was. Like if it was with work, I would like, I definitely that's
when you just
threw
start
a couple
drinking.
blackberries, you know.
You're like, it's 1 and I'm frustrated. I'm having a drink.
Right.
And now we can't do that as moms.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm having a drink. Sometimes I'm like maybe throwing something, which I knew was not healthy at the time, but like
Throwing?
it wasn't. Yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. My therapist says
I love
the
that for
healthy
you.
way to do this is to like, I don't do it anymore. Like, and now I'm much more calm apparently. But like throwing ice cubes at a wall helps with like people who like have to release the
Interesting.
anger in a way that's like energy.
Wow.
So like throwing
Wait, I
ice
kinda
cube
like
balls at a
that.
wall, it's actually it's
But
like going
also, like-
it's going to a rage room basically in
I
a
was just
different
gonna
way,
say
you
that.
know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are in business for a reason. Like people have
do.
rage and they need to get it out.
And postpartum rage is a real thing. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys
Oh, what? Yes.
Injured.
Rage. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah,
I
me
remember.
neither.
I feel like, okay, y'all know me as like the calm one. I'm very
Yes,
calm. So I actually
yes.
struggled with the rage part. I struggle with getting angry a lot
Yeah.
of like before having a baby because I see all the sides of the story. I see all like the because they're like they're like this because of this. So kind of like not I don't know if it's necessarily like finding excuses for the person, but I could see why they're going to the understanding part instead
you're
of being
empathetic,
like
so you're
super
thinking
empathetic.
deeper about why people are.
But that's also like from trauma too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I struggle with getting mad and getting angry. But then now, since becoming a mom, I would get pissed.
I
Like
can reach that level.
Yep.
rage hard. I could rage, but I also know how to regulate.
Rage about
Yes.
what though? Rage.
Some of the dumbest things,
Yeah,
like
literally some of the
they
dumbest
just
things.
some of the
piss you off.
dumbest things, like, okay, I set up this system of how I want things done, and like you're not following the system, and like they don't even know what the system is.
Oh,
of
yeah.
like when we put the bottles to wash, when we're doing, when someone
Yep.
disrupts that system, I'm like, what the hell? Or like
Yep.
the rage also of I don't know, you talked about your mom, right, of like the way your mom would do stuff.
Yeah.
So when my mom would like be around my son and whatever, and so if she says some certain things, I'm like, no, don't do that. And like I feel like the Boundaries are like way harder. I'm very like, I was just saying off air, I love how you stand on business, Crystal. Like I feel like I stand on business of like, and like there's rage behind that of like, I don't care what you say, you can get mad, you can do whatever, you can throw a fit, whatever, but you're not going to do that around my son. And so that's kind of like, but the rage behind it is I think what helps me set those boundaries.
And a lot of that too, like as we're talking about relationships, like the relationships with our moms is something that I didn't think about previous to having a child, that I do think was like a big shift or like more common understanding. Like I feel like our relationships with our moms, having them around more with the baby, seeing them interact with the baby, like how was that for you? Like
for me, it's crazy because it's been such a eye-opener of just both of my parents, of how your, and even Henry's parents, of how your upbringing affects or impacts
1000%,
your parenting style, even your relationships. Like it really does matter. Like the way you were brought up.
100%.
And whether you want to take those traits or tweak them, change them, add, you know? So like that has been a real realization for me. And like we talk about my sister a lot. Now when I talk to her about it, I'm like, I didn't know this was a thing. And she's like, oh, yeah. And I feel bad again because she's been a parent for years without me. And she wasn't able to talk to me about that. But now that we're both moms, it's like, you know how mom and dad do this? We don't want to do this. So like we're a little team and we can kind of vent to each other. It's
nice that you have somebody to talk to about that.
And we can like learn from each other and our parents. Even though there's many things that I love the way my parents like brought us up. But also, you know, it was a different day back then. Like I'm not going to do everything the same. But it is crazy how so many things, it's like, whoa, like I don't want to do that. Or I really do want to do that. But I think for me, the identity shift was more so like within, like, and I'm still figuring out like my identity. I don't know if that's ever gonna feel like this is it, because
like
then
finite, like it's never,
because then,
which is good,
which is good. It's growth, it's evolution of ourselves. But then also, you know, we're talking about baby number 2, and then what is that identity of being a mom of 2? Like I'm sure it all changes even more. And then if I have a girl, like does your identity change because you're now a girl mom? Like all of these things. I feel like our identity shifters. So like now I'm kind of just rolling with like how I feel today. Who am I today? Sometimes I want to be a bum and like lazy and like, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes I want to be like on my schedule and on my shit. And some days I'm like, you know what? The baby's going to do what the baby's going to do. Like we're kind of like just figuring it out.
I feel like I'm coming back to myself. Like I feel like I'm coming back to myself, but I feel like the Mario game where like bloop, 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 like going to like the mushroom.
Leveling up.
I feel like I'm coming to that. So before I had a baby, I was very on like my morning and my evening, like those are very sacred times for me. And so I would like take my time to do my skincare and all that, right? Part of that was also meditation and like my quiet time. So it was either like I would meditate, I would go on walks, I would just be in silence, I would read, I would do these things, but I was by myself and I was doing them. And so it was, I struggled for so long to have any type of morning, because like morning time to myself. So I feel like now I'm losing my train of thought. What am I talking about right now?
Getting your morning in with the baby?
Or just your routines. You were so on your routines.
Oh my gosh. What the hell was I talking? What did you just say?
I was just talking about like some days I want to be on my shit.
Okay, what I'm trying to say, I got the thought back. Okay, is that I would ground myself in the morning. Right. So like, at least I had like some sort of grounding, and then I'm myself. I know who I am. Okay, and the things are not going to get to me as much. So now I feel like Saint is almost 2, so we still co-sleep. So some mornings I can like get away from the bed because he also snuggles so hard.
I was so curious about the co-sleeping scenarios. Like I know you've talked about it, but when I'm like in bed after the baby goes to sleep, I'm like, if we were co-sleeping, would I have to go to bed when he goes to bed?
Yeah, what do you do?
When he was
like,
younger,
what happens? I have no clue.
Well, when he was younger, I was just tired, so I would just go to sleep also. So I would be in bed. But now, no. Now he's in bed. I'll put him to bed, and he stays in bed. And I have 2 big pillows. I put him on the left and to the right.
That's what I was wondering. Like you
and
barricade
then I'll creep
him.
away. Yes, I barricade him, and I either wash my face, or brush my teeth. I go back to doing work. I'll go hang out with Zaire. I'll do like one of those things.
But he's in the bed.
He's in the bed, but and I have like the monitor on him, and so I'll see when he wakes up. and like I'll go into the room and I'll just stand there and I'll see. Sometimes he'll go back to sleep. Other times he'll just sit there and be like, Mama, and then he really wakes up, and then I'll have to go back into the bed and I'll soothe him back to go to sleep. But that happens every night.
I was so curious about that.
Yeah. There's that.
Proceed. I was just like, I know we've talked about the co-sleeping, but what is that like
right
dynamic?
now that he's a toddler? Yeah. But he snuggles hard the whole night. He's on me, and he always wants to touch me. So in the morning time, I can like kind of get away, and I'll put him back so he sleeps harder, and then I'll meditate, I'll do my thing, but I'm trying to center myself so then I could move forward into my day. Like it's kind of like a it's a centering. Yeah. Myself.
Well, that's great that you still do that. I feel like
I'm trying.
I never got back in the morning.
No, I'm not in it completely,
now.
but I'm trying to get back into it because I want to get back to me. I don't want to get, when I ground myself, then I know at least there's like a centering that I'm grounded, and things don't get to me as easily. I don't get as overstimulated.
Yes.
I don't get as pissed. I don't get as whatever because I'm centered in who I am.
That's great.
Yeah.
What about losing or strengthening connections with friends once becoming parents? Did that happen? I know it happened to me.
For sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I feel like friendships that were strengthened were a lot of friends who were either having babies or just had babies that were around the same age as Poppy. And I didn't really see that one coming. Like, I think I knew like, oh, you joined this mom community. I have so many friends who are moms already. Yeah. But I didn't think about the fact that like, so many moms, we are all three in different stages. Yeah. And like when you have friends who are in different stages, it's kind of like you get amnesia about what it's like to have a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old once you have a 5-year-old, you know? So I was like the last friend in a couple of groups of friends to have a kid, and their kids are significantly older. So it was like hard for me to connect with them on that front. And then obviously it was during another COVID outbreak. So
that's right.
It was mostly through text. Like I had a girlfriend who does photography for my brand. And we found out at the same time that we had just taken a pregnancy test and were pregnant within the same week of each other, like a few days. Yes. So we ended up having both baby girls a day apart from each other.
Wow. That's amazing.
Which is so crazy. And like, I think like, I know she was for me, but like she was my saving grace during that time, which like not seeing you, we really didn't see each other in person for like at least 6 months, but every day we were texting each other.
Communicating.
Nightfeeds, we were up like, hey, is she doing this? Like, hey, what are you using for this?
Oh, that's amazing.
Communication. And it was great also because this was her second baby. So she was like, okay, these are the things I did with my first, and like this is kind of what's changing. Yes.
Yeah. That's amazing.
It was best case scenario for me because obviously like I trusted, okay, you have a toddler now who like you've done all this with, and it's also slightly different because now you have a girl. Like her first baby was a boy. And so I felt like we were both kind of learning some of the things together. About that stuff.
But you could also lean on her because she's been through this.
Yes.
So that's good.
Yes. So we became very close, which was amazing. And I had another girlfriend who was states away, and she and we were like, I think 6 months apart or something. So she reached out to me once like she was about to deliver. And then we kind of like, I could kind of be her like, hey, this just happened to us. This is coming for you kind of thing. And we could both kind of like, we were both entering the bigger stages together, you know, like the teething, all that kind of stuff. And so we still had each other, even though we were states away, and like see each other once a year in person. We became also very close during that time because of the age thing. And I do think like reaching out to my friends who had older kids, that strengthened our friendships because I was like, you know, like we've talked about before, like I didn't know what it was like for you to be the first one in our group to have friends. I didn't know how I could have been there for you more at that time. Like, and they kind of showed up for me more because they knew what it was like. So like, hey, do you need anything? Or like, let me know.
I love
or they
that.
Would send random
the moms
things.
And parents that have been through it, like they know. Like how we all said, like now we know.
Yeah.
now we know for our friends
really
that
know.
are first timers.
Which is why when I had a baby, Christine reached out to me and to you. And when you had a baby, we both reached out to you.
You gotta like bring them in.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. It's what we need.
Yeah.
Because there are friends who don't get it, who don't understand.
Man.
And I know I have like scenarios where I've lost friendships. Like I don't have these long friendships anymore. And I'm like, is this done forever? Is this done just for now?
When you say they're...
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
When you say they're done, was it like a friendship breakup where you like ended things like both of
And
you?
are they moms?
They
And
are
they
not
moms.
moms.
Okay.
Or was
got
it just like they fizzled and you're
So,
like, what?
so this
Yeah.
is an interesting scenario because it starts back from when I was miscarrying.
Oh.
And this is a longtime friend that I've had, like grew up together, right? And I vividly remember miscarrying and being at home. And I was going through this and nobody knew I was pregnant because it was so early. Remember I told you I didn't
Right.
tell
Yeah.
anyone that I was pregnant. So I went through this like alone other than my husband and my parents and sister knowing. So I get a call from my friend and, you know, life happens. We don't see each other as often. We don't call each other often. We'll text. So I see my phone ringing from her and I'm like, oh, this is like,
Emergency.
like we don't call each other.
Yeah.
So I'm like answering it and I answer it and like she's out and about like drama. It was all drama, right? And I'm like, what? Like, I'm miscarrying at home and you call me for this drama and drama that has nothing to do with me. Drama that is so like adolescence, right? And I'm on the phone just like, you have no idea what I'm going through right now. And not once have you asked me on the phone, how are you?
Wow.
Like, what's going on with you?
Yeah.
Because I would tell you. I would tell
Yeah.
you, like, you know what? Henry and I are having a miscarriage. Yeah. And so I'm listening on the phone like, dude, you're calling me for this nonsense?
Yeah.
And you have no clue, like, at all, nor do you care to even ask me, like, how's your life? Like,
Right.
you just calling me for some bullshit. And, like, I'm so in another place right now, you know? So that was one thing. And then got through the miscarriage. Actually never told her I had a miscarriage until I shared it on Instagram. Because fast forward, she just wanted to like engage in like drama and nonsense talk where I was like, I don't care. Like this is serving no purpose to my life. I'm still dealing with a miscarriage. I'm trying to move on from a miscarriage. I'm focusing on getting pregnant now. Like I'm doing other things. And I could give a shit about this drama that like you care so much about. So that whole after was weird. And then when I got pregnant, I didn't tell her either. And I remember being like, okay, this is weird. This is one of my longtime friends. I'm gonna try to be a bigger person. And I would like talk to my, and I would talk to my husband about it. And he's like, you know what? It doesn't hurt to like, you do it. Like you be the bigger person. So I'm like reaching out on text and I'm like, hey, we should get together. We have a lot to catch up on. Me knowing I'm pregnant at this time and I haven't announced it. And she's like, yeah, we should get together. Silent. Didn't hear nothing. So then I announced my pregnancy and I was like, that was a big thing for me. I'm like, I feel weird. I haven't told her I'm pregnant, but also I don't want to be reaching out to her like, hey, guess what? I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
Like,
Did she respond when you posted on social?
Yeah. It was like a heart or like it was a
that was it?
Yeah, it was a nonsense. It was like not
about
a big
the
deal.
miscarriage or about the pregnancy?
About the pregnancy. And the miscarriage was, I don't even remember, but I do remember like I was waiting for her to see the pregnancy announcement and it was like a basic congratulations. And then I thought maybe she's going to text me after, you know?
Yeah.
Nothing.
No.
Nothing. So then fast forward, I'm now getting ready for my baby shower and I'm telling my husband like, I don't know if I should invite her. You know, I don't know if I want to invite her. Because the last time she reached out to me was for some bullshit where she gave two shits about what was going on in my life. I've now shared on social media that I'm pregnant. I've now shared that I've had a miscarriage. She's never reached out to me.
Wow.
And I'm like, I don't know if I want to invite her. He's like, it's up to you. And I'm like, I feel weird not inviting her because this is such a longtime friend with history, but also can I grow and like not take her with me? And so that was like a weird thing for me too.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, I'm going to give it one more chance, you know?
You invited
I
her?
text her. No, I text her like, hey, and now she knows I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, we have a lot to catch up on. Let me know when you're free. Like, let's catch up. Until this day, I've not heard from her.
She never responded?
No. And I did not invite her to the baby shower. And like through the grapevine, I have heard that like she was upset that I didn't invite her to the baby shower. And I'm like, bro, you literally, I'm still left on red. I am still to this day left on red. And you feel a type of way you weren't invited to my baby shower. I feel a type of way that you weren't there for me like when all of these life things were happening. You didn't care to reach out. You were only reaching out for bullshit that I didn't care about. And like,
And then you made the effort.
Twice.
While you were pregnant and going through all this stuff to get together with her to like actually explain some of this stuff to her. And she did not reciprocate. Like she didn't even respond.
Right.
A non-response is like, yeah, we're not friends anymore then, I guess. Like,
and so
that's been this long.
That's where I have left it. And has it bothered me? 1000%.
Yeah.
But also I am also at a place in my life where I'm like, I'm a mom. I have a child. I have a whole family. If these drama situations is what your life is about, then I am going to leave you there because I don't have the space or the bandwidth. And also like a realization for me is now that I have a kid, like what are his friends going to be like? What kind of friends do I want him to have? So for me, I kind of have this rule, like if I am okay with Santi being friends with a person like this, then I should be friends with this person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I would want him to be friends with a person like this. Like, I don't want him to be engulfed in drama and, nonsense.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just going to leave it there.
Yeah.
And I honestly feel like it's not my duty to keep harassing someone I mean, maybe she just doesn't want to be my friend. I have no clue. Wouldn't know because we haven't talked.
Yeah.
So,
and I think too, there's a piece too, I think, with like a lot of our community. I know for sure in the Latino community, I don't know, like extended outside of that, is that a lot of people will engage in gossip because they don't know how to have a conversation. And I noticed that a lot too with like the elders in my family and also the elders in Zaire's family too. When they have conversations, like all you're talking about is other people.
right.
Instead of asking me how I'm doing.
Right.
Instead of asking, and then like if I do share with you what's happening and it's some big stuff, how are you going to hold space for me? How are you going to respond to that too? Because I think a lot of the times they don't know how to have a conversation.
Or also like, what is that going to be twisted as if you're always gossiping? Like
Right.
if I share something like
What are
real,
you gonna gossip about me?
right?
Yeah.
Like what are you sharing with other people? Like if I'm sharing that I'm having a hard time because baby is, not doing this or doing this, like what is that going to be twisted as? So I'm like, I don't want to have room for people like that.
Yeah.
Like I want to be in a space with people in my circle that are positivity, good vibes, level-headed, like bringing things to me that I would want my child to be around. Not some bullshit. Does it make me sad that there's history with this friend? Yeah, it makes me sad, but like maybe it is what it is.
Not everybody is meant to go with you on that journey.
Right. And in the same sense, like maybe I'm losing this friend, but I'm gaining a whole community. I'm gaining me and both of you have gotten closer during this time. Of course, we've been friends for years, but now we all have something that we can bond on, our kids. And we all want the best for our kids. So like we have great conversations when we're not in this podcast. Like our group chats are popping. We audio text each other.
Right,
and I don't, I'm not texting her about anything like that because I don't even know what she's doing. I don't even know like what her life is.
And I think that's the hard thing too, because when you become a mom, it's like all you kind of talk about is mom stuff. So,
and is that annoying to other people who aren't moms? Because before I was a mom, I'd be like, oh God, like, that now she changed her whole personality and her personality is mom.
And we talked about this off air about the IG thing.
Yes, like
the Instagram bio.
If you put mom in bio.
In your bio, corny.
Yeah,
before
I like
before becoming a mom.
Yeah, like cringe. You put mom in bio, like, okay. Like you want everyone to know you're a mom.
Yeah, but now we're moms, we're like, wait
a minute.
And I get it.
And you've added mom to your bio.
So in mine, I think it says like new mom or something like that. I put in my bio, but I feel so proud about it that I'm like, I'm a, and also this is a full-time job being a mom. So if we're putting other job titles in our bio, this is a job title in it.
And I haven't added it in mine because that has been my mentality this whole time was like, why the hell do you have to add mom to your bio?
Yeah.
But also go to my page. Like my son is
it's like everything
all over. So I'm like, I don't think I have to add it because it's there. Like it's who I am. Yeah. But why is that cringe? Like why for us was that cringe before? Because we didn't get it.
We didn't get it.
We did not get it.
And I think also we were very career oriented and we had big passions. And I think part of like the identity part and like the mom talk is like, I don't know, for me, I felt like, okay, if you can only talk about having your kid, if that becomes your whole personality, then are you passionate about anything else? And I think for me, that was like who I didn't want to become, right? I didn't want to become somebody who didn't have passions outside of my child.
Right.
And I think that was a big fear. And I think that some of my close friends who are now pregnant and who are going through like, okay, that's a big fear of mine too. And I'm trying to like, I see how you did it. And yeah, obviously there's times where like you fall deep, deep, deep into motherhood and there's no time or space for your other passions.
Right.
Such as like newborn time or like,
Right.
you know, when you're breastfeeding 7,500 times a day, you know,
Right.
it's like there's just not time
That's all
or
you're
space.
doing. Yeah.
And there's nothing else to talk about because this is literally what I'm doing all day. And like I have no space to like take in anything else.
Right.
But I feel like that was why I was like cringe about it or felt a way about it because I was like, okay, that's the most interesting thing about you. But then it's like you become a mom and then you're like, this is the most interesting thing about me
It's
because
so fascinating.
I made a whole human and like I love them so much and it is the most interesting thing about me because now I'm pouring myself into another human.
Right.
Which I think like for all of us like having businesses and stuff, previous to that, I poured all of it into my business.
Right.
And
your first baby.
my first baby. And I feel like it took me a long time. Like I would say probably 2 years before I was like, okay, there's a difference between pouring stuff into my business, which yes, is my legacy for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But also like my child is my biggest legacy because the way that I pour into them, they're interacting with other people in the world. My brand, kind of, but it's not a real person. You know, it's not a child. It's not gonna grow up to like talk to people kindly or mean or whatever, you know, like it's not gonna go out in the world and affect other people in the way that humans do.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I was like, I feel like I had this whole epiphany where I was like, oh, she's going to be a human that I'm not around all the time who grows up to either do something great or do whatever she wants. And part of raising her and like pouring into our kids and like making them our whole world is that we hope that they're going to be a way better version of us and the person we love the most in this world, you know? And I think like that's kind of what helped me get past it was like, yes, I can still have my brand and like keep running with that and put my creative energy into that. As much as I get it, you know, sometimes it's in spurts and sometimes it's off the hinges. But like, I am like, I could equally do that with a little girl who is growing up in a world where, you know, I do think she will create change one day in the way that she is most comfortable with. And like that, there's no like greater
She's the priority,
job,
regardless.
You know? Yeah, it's like
that
there's
is
no
the
greater
best job.
Right.
I think for me, the identity shift was for social media and like going back to the mom in bio.
Yeah.
I didn't have, and I still don't have, majority female followers on social media.
Really?
No, it's men.
How has that Oh.
It has shifted.
I feel that I knew this.
Yeah, I knew this too. Yeah.
It has shifted, but I have a very heavy male following. So this even dates back to me getting engaged. I remember when I got engaged, I'm like, well, a lot of my followers are probably not going to follow me anymore. And I did see it change. And then when I got married, I saw a little change. And then when I got pregnant, I was posting a lot of pregnancy content. And I was like, you know what? At this point, I don't give a fuck. After the miscarriage, I got pregnant and I'm freaking happy about it. I'm going to post all the pregnancy stuff that I want because I'm happy about it. And I was. And I saw followers fall off then too. And then I saw a growth in female followers and I'm like, this is what I want. Like, this is who I am. Like, I don't care that I am losing these lame followers, right?
Right.
People that want to see feet or whatever the hell.
So weird. I still think that's so weird.
It's still very weird. And I remember a guy commenting and he was like, we get it. You're pregnant. It happens every day. It's happened for years. And I like wanted to comment so bad. Like, it has happened for years. Many people do get pregnant. For me, it wasn't that easy. And I'm fucking happy about it now. And I'm going to post as much as I want. So for me, that identity shift was really like with my identity on social media. Like, like my husband and my family, like it's me, like it's my identity. But on social media, like I was scared. I was hesitant. And I'd have these conversations with my husband and he's like, it's who you are. Like you are becoming a mom and you are now a mom and you are a wife. And I'm like, yeah. And if it's annoying anybody, you shouldn't follow me.
Exactly.
Because this is what I'm. What do you
Exactly.
expect Crystal B to be like out in the club still? Like, no, that's not me. I mean, sometimes it's me.
And if you wanted to, yeah, sometimes.
me.
And like we're still married to DJs, so
Right. We will be out in the
we
club.
will be in the club every once in a while,
Right, and that's just
when we feel like it.
But that's me, and I have always shared like my life on social media. So when I do go out in the clubs and when I do that, I will share that.
Yeah.
But for the majority, like I'm a mom and I'm home and like I look messy sometimes, and when I do my makeup, I want to share that too. You know, like it's just changed, and now I'm at the point where like I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
And I think that's why people love to follow you too, is because you're authentic. So this is who you are today. Who you were 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 1 year ago, like has changed. But all those times you were still you.
I'm not Crystal the Sex Pistol
Oh
anymore.
my
God.
If you know, from back in the day.
Oh my gosh. I forgot about that. That was just memories.
I want to talk about the friend stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I have
You have a scenario
Yes,
too.
I have
Yes.
a scenario.
Tell us.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell us.
Okay. So first off, I want to say that when after I had a baby, the people who I thought I was gonna like connect with my friends did not happen. I ended up being closest to my cousin who lived in Washington. Who I ended up
which
becoming
one?
my cousin Juliana.
Oh, okay.
You may have met her before.
okay.
She has 3 kids, so she's the person who I was the close. She would like text me every day, and then my friend Tracy G in New York. Who has
so
no
nobody was
kids?
here.
Who had no kids?
Yeah.
And she was so invested in me as a human, and I
love
love
that.
that. She was the only person who gave me at my baby shower who gave me a gift for me and not for my baby.
What did she give you?
It was like a goodie bag of, I don't even remember what it was, but it was a goodie bag for me,
you.
for me
Yeah.
of like healing, you know. So she did research. She looked at like all the things to support.
Wow,
me
and not
to
even a
nourish
mom.
me.
Yeah.
And
A
not
plus.
even a
A
mom,
plus,
bro.
Tracy.
Yeah, and so, but like Washington and New York, those were the closest people. And then on top of that, the other closest people were on IG. Like women who I was not even, who I've never met in person, who would DM me and like ask me questions to ask me how I was doing, who would give me advice. And I was like, man, like those were the people who I was closest with. So
I
then,
feel like I was one of, like, we reconnected.
You and I,
via
yes.
IG, like, as being more everyday
for sure. And then we
talkers,
connect,
or like voice notes.
and I would reach out to you,
Yep.
especially with the breastfeeding too. I had so many questions. Like I didn't know like who to talk to who's been through this.
Nikki was
before.
leaving me a whole podcast.
Literally.
That's where
And
the
then
idea
that's
started.
where the idea started. Then I was like, wait a minute. We should actually have a
Go
podcast
behind the
about
mic
this
on
stuff.
it.
Yeah, and that was important for, and like we connected again.
Yep.
But then, okay, so I have a best friend that I thought was going to be there, who was gonna like be there, you know, through pregnancy, there through the newborn phase, there through like she disappeared. So after,
Did you, when you say pregnancy, did you think she would actually be there for the birth? Or
no,
did you not want
no,
any
that
friends?
actually
Okay.
no, and that I actually appreciated. She was
Yeah.
like, okay, what's happening for birth? Where do you want me to be? Which I appreciated that, but I was like, it's actually just gonna be Zaire and I. And so she's like, okay, cool, like, and she respected that. When I got pregnant, she was the second person I told, and I was so excited to tell her, and I could not wait. Like literally, when I saw her, like the words like wanted to fly out of my mouth. But like I actually did tell her, and she started crying. She was like really happy for me, right?
Yeah.
It ended up spiraling her into a space. It was really triggering for her because she was thinking about motherhood herself. Was she ever going to get pregnant? Can she get pregnant? Her relationship status, like things that she was experiencing in her relationships, and then seeing all of her friends seemingly were like moving on with their life.
So it
her
kind
life.
of brought that clock
Yeah.
into her face.
Right, and
Yeah.
we're in our mid-30s at this point, and so we're like, are we having babies, you know, stuff like this. So she went on her own journey that she needed to go on, right? And so I was like, okay, like I respect it, she's going on her own journey, but also I felt kind of like,
left out.
you're missing this. You're missing your best friend be pregnant. Although it didn't deter me from hitting her up. I still felt like, okay, I still looked at her as my best friend, and I would reach out to her and be like, I'm terrified. I don't know if I could do this. Am I going to be a good mom? So I would really vent to her. I would leave voice notes of me like crying and like I'm like sad.
Yeah.
So I would still reach out to her, right? So after I had the baby,
But was she responding?
she was
Also?
responding.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
she
Yeah,
was
yeah.
responsive. And I think that's also where she kind of assumed too, after I had the baby, I would still reach out to her in those ways. But after I had a baby, I was just like, like I was drowning, and
Everything's happening.
Everything's happening. I needed people who were going to give me solutions to like feed life into me. And
I think that's the misconception that people have when women give birth.
Right.
Is like, oh, I'm just going to let them be because like a lot is happening. But like you kind of need people to be proactive. Like, what do you need from me? How can I help?
Yes. I went through this traumatic experience. I can't reach out to you. I can't ask you
That's
how
an
you're
extra
doing
thing for me to do.
I can't. Exactly. I have enough on my plate already. I can't. So I need y'all to show up for me. You are my village. You are my tribe. I need you to show up for me, right? And I just assumed she would know that.
Yeah.
I assumed my friends would know that. And that wasn't the case. So fast forward, you know, the last Saint is almost 2. So it wasn't until last week that her and I like hung out again. And like this is me trying to like get my identity back, right? Trying to connect back with my friends, trying to find like to go out of the house.
How long had it been since you guys like hung out in person?
Well, she came over.
Okay.
Like recently. So we like try to connect again.
But like without the baby, this was the first time that you two got to hang out.
Yeah, it was the first time.
Wow.
So we're like, you know, and I don't think we like weren't connecting. It just we weren't connecting in the ways that we used to because we lived really close to each other before I had a baby. We would see each other weekly, daily. We would see each other. If we just felt like, hey, what are you doing? And we like it was no problem, right? We just hang out and be with each other all the time. Yeah. So when we're hanging out, we're just chilling, we're eating, and she starts opening up, and she's like, you know, I've been going through. I asked her like, well, you know, what's going on in your life? I feel like I don't know what's going on. She was like, well, you know, I've been going through X, Y, and Z, and you know, I had something happen, and actually, you came up for me, and I was like, me? What happened? What happened with me?
Tell me more.
What happened? Did I do something? And then she tells me that she's been experiencing grief, and she was reflecting on our friendship. And at this point, she was getting emotional. And she's like, I had grief after I found out you were pregnant, after you had a baby. Our friendship kind of like dissipated a little bit. And she was experiencing grief that in the ways that we used to hang out. And I moved after I had a baby. After when I was pregnant, I moved almost an hour away from her.
What?
Yeah.
Far?
I mean, traffic, girl.
Yeah.
In LA.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It can take like an hour to get to my house from where she lives.
So those were like 2 really big changes, having the baby and then also moving and
being far.
And she doesn't have family who lives in this area. So I was her family. Yeah. And like, of course, like a handful of her other friends, but her friends slowly are having babies, slowly getting married, slowly, you know, so like kind of doing their own thing. And then for some reason, we all moved to the same direction. Like we all live right.
So she got to move.
You're all moving more towards the suburbs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she's feeling like, I remember distinctly, she said, people don't think about the friends that are left behind. And the moment she said that, I thought, what? That's not a thing. because I'm thinking like, I had a baby. I went through something traumatic. Yeah. Like, I'm not thinking about you. But then, like, the next second was, that's actually valid. Yeah. That's actually really valid. And like to experience that grief of a friendship, I'm sure I would experience a certain sense of grief also if I feel like if this is what I'm used to every day to hang out with my friend, and then now I'm like, oh, where's the friend I used to talk to?
Her life changed too.
Because I think you experience that in relationships, period. Like, say your best friend starts dating somebody. Yeah. Say they get married. Same. Exactly. It's a different change that you're like, wait, I'm so used to like being with you all the time and you being the person, and now you have this other person, and now this is like that. It's the same with a baby. I feel obviously like 10 times more intense. Yeah. Okay, can we just stop and just talk about how dope this recording studio is? I feel like everyone hits me about like where it's at, how cool it is, what's the situation. It's called Project Studios in Monterey Park.
Everything is here, and the staff does everything for you as well. The editing, the producing, the lighting,
the cameras,
everything. We need that good lighting. Yeah. Get out of
here. And you could create such dope content here. Like downstairs is a full production area that literally is like for music videos, big scale production. And next door they even have a place where like you can do flat lays if you sell clothing, jewelry, whatever you sell. It's like professional level studio next door that you can use.
And it's only 9 minutes from downtown LA. And there's parking here in LA. It's so annoying to find parking. And I know that was a big thing when we were looking for podcast space, was where in LA that we can all park and feel safe and feel comfortable. Yes. And that is here. Make sure to follow them on Instagram so you can see more of all the fun stuff they do at Project LA, and you can schedule a creative consultation at projectstudios.com.
Tell them we sent you. Speaking about the friend that was left behind, like I said, being the last friend in certain groups, like I did feel like that sometimes. And like I had a lot of mom friends. And sometimes, obviously in hindsight, I'm like, okay, all of them, I have one group of friends, all of them have kids, their first kid within like 3 months of each other.
Wow.
It's like 3 or 4 of them, and they're like 3 or 4 months apart, right?
Wow.
So I was the only one who like was not in that space at all to like have a baby. And yeah, there was like one time I remember they all planned like a beach trip. And of course, I'm the only one that doesn't have a baby, and I wasn't invited. And I definitely took it to heart because I was like, what the hell? Like, we always do everything together, even with the kids. Like, I'm the fun. Yeah, like, I love to hold all the babies and like take care of them, and I'll for sure like help with whatever you guys need. So like, why wasn't I included? You know? Right. And I definitely like, I know now because I'm on the other end, right? Like I do have friends who don't have kids, and my first thought, and like my best friend, she's pregnant now, but for a long time I'd always be like, you're invited, you're more than welcome to come, but like it's a kid thing, and like I don't really know if you want to like be here with a bunch of screaming toddlers. Like I wouldn't want to, so like I'm just telling you, you know, it's like trying to extend the invite without being like you're not invited, but also like this is what it is, just so you have some like thoughts about whether or not you can decide you want to come.
Right. But you're invited. Yeah, you're on my part, yes, you are included.
Yes. Yeah. But I think it's such a hard thing because when you're on the motherhood side, you're like, I'm the one dealing with all these things. Like, why are you, making me try to feel bad for you? But I feel like I never spoke up or said anything for the most part when I felt like that. I was just like, okay, they're in a different season of life, which I think is a lot of like us navigating new friendships and existing ones is like, we're all going to be at different stages at different times. And the beauty is like we reconnect sometimes. We may disconnect here and then reconnect at another, like all of us did.
I think this happened to
us.
Us too. Literally.
So I feel like that's kind of like the trade-off with one, you gain this huge community of moms, whether it's you join a mom group or not, whether it's just on social media or not, like
or it's just friends, or it's just friends, people that you know.
But but it's really healthy to have these types of conversations, because once she opened that door, I was like, okay, now I could actually share what my thoughts are. And I shared with her, I felt disappointed in her. I felt rage. And I felt like you weren't there when I thought you were going to be there. I was super honest. And it turned out her and I felt the same emotions, but on the opposite spectrum. But none of us would have known that if we didn't talk about it. And I feel like us talking about it is what really brought us closer, because
now you understand where she is.
Exactly.
And she understands where you are. And it's the same place.
It's just literally the same
opposite
thing.
ends.
Yes. And I remember one of my other girlfriends talking about this too. We emphasize so much on relationships with our intimate partners that we don't realize that our friendships are also relationships. And the loves of our lives don't have to only be our partners. The loves of our lives can also be our friends. And she's definitely someone that I consider a love of my life too. And so if I'm making stuff work with like Zaire, with my partner, we can do the same thing in friendships. And we could, if it's worth it, if it's worth the friendship, then you carry.
Yeah, in your scenario, you guys have communication. One person texted and the other person responded, and you met up and you talked.
And
that wasn't my scenario.
And it's but that's the same thing too when you date a person, right? Sometimes that happens, and it's a reality too when you just also fall off, or sometimes even you do the mature thing and you have a conversation. You say, we're not compatible. We're not compatible. And I had this conversation too a couple years ago with a friend. I was like, LOL at me being so mature, when I was like, I don't think we should be friends anymore. And like we had a friendship breakup,
Wow.
But that's the reality of sometimes we just like
grow out of people.
You can't, and like you don't want them in your life.
And that's so strong to be able to say something like that, because like talking about friendship fallouts and like strengthening other friendships, like I definitely, the way that I deal with that kind of thing is I just like go silent. Like I'm not going to say we shouldn't be friends anymore, because I'm like, no,
you just aren't friends anymore.
But the silence is loud.
I know. And I feel like, because I did have a couple of close friends who I feel like my number one like tick off the list of like, okay, you're not going to be in my baby's life, or like you're not around, is people who never reached out to meet my baby. I have a lot of girlfriends, and a lot, like the majority of them I would say I probably have 16 close girlfriends that I can like call at any point.
That's a lot.
Oh yeah.
That's a roster.
I was like, I have like
it's
3.
Yeah.
I know that.
And they're here.
And they are Nicole and Kristen.
You're right. That's
and my sister. 3.
Exactly.
I think it's because I have like a lot of different groups of friends. So we all have like different, like I have my college girlfriends.
Christine, we get it. You're so popular. She's like, I just have a lot of friends, guys.
I'm saying now I can't remember my train of thought.
but you get you're in different seasons.
Yes. So different seasons with these friends. I don't even remember where I was going.
You're Ariana Grande.
I was talking about friends that we lost and like getting closer to certain friends.
Yes.
And I don't know where that was going, but having a lot of friends is a lot of work when you're a good friend. And I think that for me, like I'm used to being a good friend. I was saying I wouldn't say like we can't be friends anymore. I just go silent.
Yeah.
So that did happen with a couple of girls that like I was really close with before. They weren't my longtime friends. It was like people who I just kind of became close with right before I got pregnant.
Yeah.
Who like I was like wanting to go out more and do things. And so I became closer to these girls who weren't my childhood friends, who were all having kids and like doing that whole thing.
They were new friends.
They were new friends. And I was like, oh, even though they're new friends, like they've been with me through my entire pregnancy. Like they're going to want to meet the baby. And then the baby came and like no outreach, not even like, hey, how are you? Like just complete silence.
And they are moms.
No.
Oh, they're not.
No, those are the people that
moms.
aren't. You know what though? That's also one of the reasons why I don't show Saint's face on social too, because I feel like the people who I kind of fell off with, I'm like, if you didn't come see me, you didn't ask how I was doing, you didn't want to know about Saint, I don't want you to see him on social.
Yeah.
Don't creep on my page.
You don't have the privilege to see
you don't
this baby,
Don't
okay?
come to my page looking for Saint's
Gosh,
face.
for me, I'm the whole opposite.
You're like, look at him.
I'm like, look at how cute he is. Look at how happy he is. And it's all without you. You are not involved.
Wow.
And we are fantastic.
And we are fantastic.
We're living our best
much.
life, and it has nothing to do with you.
But it's the same energy on the
same,
separate
on the
spectrum.
opposite.
Same
on
thing.
the opposite. Yeah.
How funny.
I love that for us.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so where are we now with our like friendship? Like now that everything is kind of set right, we're 1 year out, 2 years out, 3 years out of having a baby.
Yeah.
Like this is like our final thought of where are we now, and friendships, relationships, like where are we?
Well, I don't know if I have a lot of mom friends, to be honest. I feel like a lot of the times it's like what I see people comment, which I love, like it helps me like relate to one another. Definitely you two have like my mom's circle of friends. Shout out to Roxy also. She has a daughter who was born the same week as Saint. And so her and I like relate a lot. Like we're both still on like, the breastfeeding journey. I still don't really have a lot of mom friends, to be honest. And
do
I'm like
you want more? Do you feel like you're like, okay, let's expand? Like obviously this podcast is, I think, for all of us to like expand our mom network.
I definitely want to expand my community of moms. When it comes to like the closeness, I feel like you and I are kind of similar. I think you also is like, it's a privilege to know what's going on in my life. It's a privilege
exactly where I am.
to see how it's a privilege to know the drama, like the little stuff in my life, but like the stuff in my life. So I'm not necessarily looking for more friends for that, like the privilege aspect, but I am looking for community. That I'm still looking for, and I'm almost 2 years into it.
I think just this, like, I love when moms hit us up on our podcast Instagram and ask questions or share that they understand, you know, whatever it is that we're talking about. Like that's a community, and I love that. Like asking questions, and like I want to share, but I don't want to be that annoying person when somebody gets pregnant and I'm like, oh, this is what I use, this is what I did, because I had those people in my ear, and I'm like, I don't want to do it that way though. Like just because you did it, doesn't mean I have to do it or that I want to do it. So I like am very conscious of like, I'm not gonna volunteer any information or any advice unless like people ask. But if you ask, I'm like,
you're like, okay, I'm ready.
The gates are open.
I was waiting for this.
Like, well, since you asked, let me tell you everything.
I have a list actually.
List notes I can copy, PDFs I can share. So that I love, but I am very like aware, like don't overdo it unless people are asking for help. But like as far as close circle community, it goes back to that, like people that are people that I want my son to be around, people that are good energy, good people, good morals. And obviously I have my sister who's like my number one, like she knows every and all the things. And beyond that, it's just like who is serving me in my life. In positive light.
For sure.
I feel like I've kind of settled into the like routine of what I do with my mom friends, and like how I can connect with all different ones. And I have one girlfriend who we do a lot of stuff together. Usually once a week we like set a date because our daughters are besties.
Damn, I love that.
So we do something like yesterday we went to the fairy garden. Like we'll go to Kid Space. We'll
How
go
many
to Discovery
times
Cube.
is Poppy napping a day?
Never. She doesn't nap.
That's why.
Yeah.
I was just having this conversation with my sister because I was like, I can't wait to get, because
Yes,
my sister has
way more freedom.
Yeah, my niece is going to be
3, right?
3 this July.
Yes,
Really?
yes.
Yeah.
Already?
Yeah.
So she still has one nap. And
Yeah.
her nap and Santi's nap are at different times.
Oh my God,
so when
that's the
Santi
worst.
wakes up,
So
she's
you
going for
can't.
her
Yep.
nap. So like we want to hang out with all the kids and we'll like make it happen, but it takes one of us
Yes.
sacrificing the
Yep.
kids' nap.
Yep.
So one of them is wonky. And I'm like, I can't wait for Santi to drop one nap.
And that's what people don't talk about with the like gaining friendships with other parents who are around the
It's
same
so
age.
hard with the nap.
Because then they're
Yeah.
napping usually around the same time, like when they're both on 2 naps. So my girlfriend who I do the things with, like our daughters are 9 months apart. So for the most part, like we kind of were all at least approaching the same schedule if we weren't on the same schedule.
Yeah.
And so that was always great for us
That's a
because
win.
when we first used to meet up, like I was looking at the pictures yesterday because we've always done library classes with them. We started when Poppy was 8 months and her daughter was like a little over a year. And at that time, we'd say, okay, we're going to drive on our nap time. Then we'll stay until this time. And then by the time we
Love
drive home,
that.
it's our
That's
second
amazing.
nap.
Mom math.
You know,
Yeah.
mom math. And now it's like they both nap in the car, which is great. And like is, you know, what we can rely on. But we're like, okay, now we can meet at this time. And so we always set like our goals for like meeting in person. I also try to do more outreach to friends who have kids who Poppy likes to play with because I'm like, okay, cool. We can catch up because now they're old enough where they can go play on their own and we can actually like talk.
I look
And we don't
forward
have to
that.
chase them around anymore, you know?
love
And I
that
do that
too.
with my cousins too. And I feel like once you get to a point where I'm at where Poppy's 3 and like I have friends and cousins who have older kids, I texted my cousin the other day, I'm like, hey, do you want to let our daughters watch each other so that we don't have to and we can just relax?
That's cute.
And she was like, oh my God, yes, let's take a
Yes.
rain check. I can't today, but like, let's do a rain check because then they get to the age where, yeah, the older kids are very helpful and like
They
following around the
are,
smaller ones
yeah.
and can do more pretend play with them and stuff. So I feel like I'm in that phase of
That's
like,
nice.
you know, kind of like marrying the two, like still being able to hang out with friends who have younger kids, getting to hang out a little more with friends who have older kids.
Yeah.
And then also kind of keeping the rhythm with the friends that I try to do like weekly, monthly things with. And then also knowing that soon it's going to change for me and that friend and a lot of my other friends because we're going to be starting our kids in preschool.
Oh my gosh.
Wait.
Christine.
So it's like, oh yeah,
That is
this,
crazy.
yeah, we'll probably start her this fall. So I'm like, that's going to be a big
This
shift,
fall?
which obviously, yeah, because she just turned 3.
That's, yeah.
So we want to do a year of preschool before TK, and so it would be this fall because her birthday's in January.
What?
So-
That's a Super Mario level.
Yeah,
That's a big, big one.
Wow.
So
have
I
so
know
many
that'll be a
questions.
big shift,
Yeah.
and I
Oh
think that's
my
why,
gosh.
especially now, I'm like, okay, I want to do all the things where we have more freedom because this is the last time in like our lives that it'll just be her, it'll just be me and her.
Oh
I'm
my
not like
gosh.
I'm working part-time, you know, so
Yeah.
I've kind of been like trying to soak in all of
I'm
that
so
before,
stuck
like,
in this
the
moment.
fall.
I forget like yeah, they're gonna leave and be in school. Like
Yes.
because I'm so
Yeah.
stuck with like he's at home, he's little, he's you know,
Yeah.
like what
Yeah.
going to school,
Yeah.
like gone out of the house.
Well, I'm thinking about homeschooling. So
Me
I
too.
don't know about.
I have also been thinking about that.
Yeah, so for me, I'm thinking like pods, but still like
You would homeschool?
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually like 100% sure.
Oh,
But
100%,
I'm
yes.
100% sure, but for me, it's like I don't know if it's my house or if it's pods that we'll
Yes.
do. It's like different
And
parents' homes.
Speaking of community, like I know other moms who live in communities where it's a bunch of young families, everybody homeschools, they do pods, they go into one place to like all learn together and it's like all the neighborhood kids. And I was like, man, if I had that kind of community, 100% a heartbeat, I would do homeschooling.
Right.
We have
But
one next door
we
to
don't.
us.
You
Literally.
do? Oh, wow.
Oh, she's rolling her eyes.
Deep breath. Deep breath.
Having a newborn, having a baby, when these kids are playing
Oh.
and they're
Mom rage.
they're
Mom rage.
they're homeschooled, but me and my husband are like they're always at recess. Why are they always playing?
Why are they always playing?
They're always
These
playing.
kids.
And then when it's raining, they're playing in the rain and they're playing in puddles. And I'm like, what is happening? Like,
my
what?
God.
and
Gosh.
Santi's trying to sleep.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are the qualifications
It's
to homeschool?
probably
Because
a
I feel like,
play-based.
what is happening?
Probably, yeah. Well, they learn a lot through play.
Yeah,
the first
play-based
first year.
schools. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
My goodness.
Wait, to wrap this up, I do want to say to moms listening, allow this to be permission to you to actively look for groups to connect with moms, like all of that. Also, let this be permission to end friendships.
Yep.
If you want to go silent, if that's your way to do it, whatever. Let that be your thing. But
growth is okay.
Growth is okay. It's okay. Making boundaries is okay.
Yes, it's okay for friends to go with you on this journey. It's also okay for them to drop off.
Yeah. So if you don't have any other friends or family telling you this, we're those friends for you.
Yes.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
We are those friends. And as I previously said, slide into our DMs.
Slide into our DMs.
If you have questions, we want to spill all of the things.
Respond.
Like,
yes.
We love talking about mom things, baby things. So just...
Mom talk me all day long.
Yeah, actually comment us.
Yes.
We're trying to get our comments up. Yeah. So let us know in the comments.
Yes.
And next episode, we kind of talked today like with nap time, but let's talk about
oh my gosh, the nitty gritty.
The nitty gritty of infant and like
I
didn't know what a wake window was. I was like,
so
what?
many Google searches.
Yeah. All the Google searches that you're doing during that infant time, we're going to talk about all of that fun stuff next episode, which is 11. Episode 11.
Wow.
Flying by. Thanks so much for hanging out with us on Nightclubs to Nightfeeds. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we are, of course, always continuing the conversation on our social media. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Nightclubs to Nightfeeds. That's at Nightclubs, the number 2, and then Nightfeeds. Make sure to follow us and let us know if there's a topic you want us to cover. Can't wait to chat next time.